Hello students, today we will discuss extra question and answers of NCERT Class 8 Science, Chapter 6, Combustion and Flame. Question number 1, what is combustion? Answer, a chemical process in which a substance reacts with oxygen to give off heat is called combustion. That is, it is a chemical process in which a substance reacts with oxygen and as a byproduct we get heat. Then such processes we called it as combustion. The substance that undergoes combustion is said to be combustible. It is also called as fuel. The substance that reacts with oxygen and release heat, such substances are called as fuel. The fuel may be solid, liquid or gas. Sometimes light is also given off during combustion, either as a flame or a glow. The fuels may be of solid, liquid or gas types. The examples of each of them we will discuss later. During the release of heat, sometimes the light is also given either as a flame or a glow. Question number 2, why it is said food is a fuel for our body? What is the question? Question is, why it is said that food is a fuel for our body? Answer, in our body, food is broken down by reaction with oxygen and heat is produced. Now this heat is utilized for carrying out all the necessary activities and proper functioning of the body. So when we take the food, this food is broken down by the reaction with oxygen and heat energy is produced, and this heat energy is utilized by the body for carrying out different activities and functioning of the body. If we compare this with the combustion process, then similarly in combustion also the fuel is burned and heat and light energy are given out. Hence we can compare the food to fuel, since in both the cases they react with oxygen and heat is released or liberated. Hence it is said food is a fuel for our body. Question number 3, does the combustion also take place in the sun as it produces its own heat and light? Answer, no, the combustion process does not take place in the sun. Even though in the sun we see heat and light energy in tremendous amount, but there the process that is taking place is not the combustion process, because in the first question we have discussed that the combustion process is a chemical process, whereas in the sun heat and light are produced by different process known as the nuclear reactions. Now what are these nuclear reactions? These are the reactions taking place at the nucleus of an atom. Now this entire concept of nuclear reaction and the phenomena is a very difficult concept for you to study now. You will be studying in details about the nuclear reactions in higher classes. So for the time being, we will not go in details of the nuclear reactions. Just you have to remember that in the sun, the combustion process is not taking place. Instead, the tremendous amount of heat and light energy is produced by nuclear reactions. Question number 4, write a note on forest fires. Answer, during extreme heat of summer, at some places dry grass catches fire. What happens that during the summer season, when the temperature goes very high, the dry grass catches fire by itself and it starts burning. From the grass, it spread to the trees and very soon the whole forest is set on fire. This is known as forest fire. Once this dry grass catches fire, then the fire is spread to the nearby trees and soon enough the whole forest is set on fire. Now it is very difficult to control such fires. Why? Because usually such forest fires occur during the summer season when there is a lack of water. Most of the trees and grasses have become dry and thus they are susceptible to catch fire easily. Spontaneous forest fires are due to the heat of the sun or due to lightning strike. Sometimes even due to the lightning strike, the forest or some part of the forest catches fire. However, most forest fires are due to the carelessness of human beings. How? Hence, it is important to remember that the campfires must be completely extinguished before leaving a forest after a picnic or a visit. What happens is that sometimes when we go for a trekking or for a visit to the forest, we set the campfires. Now, if these campfires are not properly extinguished, then after some time, this fires is spread to the nearby grass or dried trees or some bushes, and soon enough the whole area of the forest is set on fire. Now it is very difficult to control such forest fires because of the large amount of wind that usually flows. It spreads the fire to a very large forest area. You must have heard in the newspaper or on the TV news channels that last year such forest fire broke out in Australia where around 4 crore animals got killed due to these forest fires. So you can imagine the devastating effect of such forest fires that around 4 crore animals got killed due to these forest fires. So it is a very dangerous phenomena and hence we should be careful to not to be careless, and if we go for a trekking or a picnic or a visit to the forest, we should have a proper care that the campfires or any other fire that we use should be properly extinguished before leaving that place. Question number 5. Define ignition temperature. Answer: the lowest temperature at which a substance catches fire is called its ignition temperature. What is the ignition temperature? The lowest temperature at which a substance catches fire. Now, every substance has its own different value of ignition temperature. That is, say if we take an example of a paper, we know that paper burns easily. So we can say that its ignition temperature is low. Whereas metals, say they do not catch fire easily even at a temperature as high as 500 or 600 degrees Celsius. They will melt but they will not catch fire. So they have a very high ignition temperature. Usually fuels, that is petrol, kerosene, diesel, oil, they have moderate ignition temperature, hence we can burn them easily to get desired heat and light energy. Question number 6. Explain how the matchstick starts burning on rubbing it on the side of the matchbox. What is the question? that how does the matchstick starts burning when we rub the matchstick on the side of the matchbox? Answer: the head of the matchstick contains only antimony trisulfide and potassium chloride. These are the names of the two chemicals, antimony trisulfide and potassium chloride. These are present on the head of the matchstick. The rubbing surface on the matchbox has a little red phosphorus. Now when we rub the matchstick against the rubbing surface, then this red phosphorus gets converted into white phosphorus, and due to this it reacts with the potassium chlorate in the matchstick to produce heat. This heat is sufficient enough to ignite antimony trisulfide and the combustion starts. That is, initially when we rub the surface of a matchbox, then red phosphorus gets converted into white phosphorus, and this white phosphorus reacts with potassium chlorate, and later on, because of this reaction and because of the heat generated, antimony trisulfide starts burning. Now here we have certain chemical names which might be a little bit difficult for you to remember, so you can avoid these complicated names by simply remembering that the mastic has chemicals of antimony and potassium, and the rubbing surface has red phosphorus. Then you can say it in a simple words that when the mastic is rubbed against the matchbox, the red phosphorus gets converted into white phosphorus, and then it reacts with the potassium chemical, and thus heat is produced which burns the antimony chemical. So in this way you can avoid the use of names of the chemicals if you find it difficult to remember. Otherwise you can directly use the specific names of the chemicals. Question number 7. Explain how water gets boiled in a paper cup without burning it. Actually, it is an activity that is being discussed in this chapter, that we can even boil the water in a paper cup without burning the paper cup. How it is possible? Answer: if we continue to heat the cup containing water, we can even boil water in the paper cup. The reason is the heat supplied to the paper cup is transferred to the water by conduction. So in the presence of water, the ignition temperature of paper is not reached, and hence it does not burn. That is, when we put water in the paper cup and hold this paper cup over a burner and we start heating it, the paper cup doesn't catch fire. Instead, the water inside the paper cup starts boiling, because whatever the heat that we are supplying to the paper cup, that is being transferred to the water, and hence the ignition temperature of the paper is not reached. If in this case, if you have not put the water inside the paper cup, then what will happen? The heat supplied to the paper cup will raise its temperature above its ignition temperature, and we know that when the substance reaches its ignition temperature, it starts burning, and hence the paper will start burning if the water is not kept in it. So in this way we can explain this phenomena. Question number 8. What are inflammable substances? Answer: the substances which have very low ignition temperature and that can easily catch fire are called inflammable substances. That is, fuels most of the time we have seen the fuels have a very low ignition temperature and they can catch fire easily or are called inflammable substances. Examples of inflammable substances are petrol, alcohol, LPG gas, etc. Sometimes you may have seen the warning signs if you have visited certain industrial areas or petrol pumps, that is there is a warning sign or a danger sign put up, and then it is written below it that inflammable substance, be careful or be cautious, because these inflammable substances, they have a very low ignition temperature and hence they catch fire easily and rapidly. Question 9. Explain how a fire brigade extinguishes fire. In this question we have to discuss how the fire brigade extinguishes fire. You must have seen in the cities there are firefighters and a van, red color van of fire brigade team, which rushes to a spot where there is a fire broke out and they extinguishes the fire. How they do it? Answer: it pours water on the fire. The first and the foremost thing they do is put water on the fire. They spray a large quantity of water on the fire. Water cools the combustible matter. The effect of spraying large quantity of water is that the substances which was burning earlier, its temperature is brought below its ignition temperature and hence the burning stops. This prevents the fire from spreading. Water vapors also surround the combustible material, helping in cutting off the supply of air, so the fire is extinguished. Simultaneously, what happens? Due to the spray of water, there is a blanket of water vapors that gets forms around the combustible material, and because of this blanket of water vapors, the supply of air which is necessary for combustion, it is cut off, hence the fire is extinguished. Now next question number 10. How can we control or extinguish fire? Answer: there are three essential requirements for producing the fire, that are fuel, air to supply oxygen, and heat to raise the temperature of the fuel beyond the ignition temperature. So the three basic necessities for producing fire are fuel, air to supply the oxygen, and heat. And the heat should be above the ignition temperature of that fuel so that it starts burning. Now, fire can be controlled by removing one or more of these requirements. Now, since our aim is to extinguish the fire, we can control or try to control one of these three factors so that we can extinguish the fire. The job of a fire extinguisher is to cut off the supply of air or to bring down the temperature of the fuel or both. The first and the foremost thing that we can do is to cut off the supply of air. Even in the last question, as we have discussed, that when we spray the water on the burning substance, there is a blanket of water vapor forming which cuts off the supply of air. Also, due to the spraying of water, the temperature of the fuel is brought down, its ignition temperature brought below its ignition temperature, and hence we can extinguish fire. Now in this case we are only working on the second and the third parameter, air and heat, because shifting of fuel from the location of burning is quite a difficult thing. When we have seen, if there is a fire broke out in some building or go down, then shifting of the materials that have already catch fire or the surrounding materials is a difficult thing. Hence the easiest thing is to cut off the supply of oxygen or to spray water, or sometimes we can spray sand to lower the temperature below the ignition temperature and cut off the supply of oxygen. Question number 11. Water is not suitable for fires involving oil. Why? Now in this question we have to discuss the reason why the fires involving oil we do not use water as extinguisher. Why? Answer: water is not suitable for fires involving oil because water is heavier than oil. So it sinks below the oil and oil keeps burning on the top. That is, since water has higher density, or it is higher in weight compared to the oils, when we spray the water over the oil which is burning, then the oil being lighter, it keeps on floating on the surface of the water and it's keep on burning, whereas the water being heavier gets settled at the bottom and it do not extinguish the fire because it is neither cutting off the supply of oxygen nor it is cooling the oil. Hence, for such cases we cannot use water as a fire extinguisher, even though it is a most common fire extinguisher. It only works when there are things like wood or paper. Since they are heavier, we can, when we spray the water over it, the water spreads over it and it extinguishes the fire. In the exercise question also we have seen that water is not suitable even for the extinguishing of fire for electrical gadgets or electrical equipments. Again, the reason was slightly different, because in the electrical equipments, water being the good conductor of electricity, if we spray the water on the electrical equipments, the person spraying the water may get electrical shock. Also, the other reason was that the water damages the electrical cables, wires and appliances. Hence, water is not suitable also for the electrical fires. And here we have discussed that water is not suitable for fires involving oil. Question number 12. Explain different types of combustion. So in this we have to discuss the types of combustion. We know that the combustion is a chemical phenomena, but based on the speed or the quickness or the rate of burning, we can distinguish or categorize the combustions as: first, rapid combustion. In this, the combustion of fuel which burns rapidly and produces heat and light. Such combustion is known as rapid combustion. That is, in this type of combustion, the fuel when ignited burns rapidly and uniformly, and as an end product it gives out heat and light. Such combustion is known as the rapid combustion, and the most important example of this rapid combustion is the gaseous fuel. We have seen number of gaseous fuel. All this gaseous fuel burns rapidly and steadily. Hence, we can term it as rapid combustion. Point number 2, spontaneous combustion. The combustion in which a material suddenly bursts into flames without application of any apparent external ignition is called spontaneous combustion. That is, in the second category of combustion is the spontaneous combustion, in which the material suddenly starts burning by itself, even without the application of any external flame or ignition. For example, phosphorus, whose ignition temperature is only 25 degrees Celsius, As soon as the room temperature reaches above 25 degrees Celsius, the phosphorus will start burning suddenly or spontaneously without the need of bringing any lighter or a matchstick near the phosphorus. It will start burning by itself as soon as the temperature of the room reaches above the 25 degrees Celsius. So such cases we can say as the spontaneous combustion. Another example of spontaneous combustion is the combustion of coal dust that has resulted in many disastrous fires in coal mines. Coal dust, it is a kind of a coal powder which you can see in the coal mines. Now this coal dust also has the tendency of getting auto-ignited spontaneously, and when such thing happens, it results in a large fire broke out in the coal mines, which is very dangerous for the workers working in the coal mines. Third kind of a combustion is explosion. When a cracker is ignited, a sudden reactions take place which releases heat, light and sound along with large amount of gas. Such a reaction is called explosion. Now the third category of combustion is the explosion. As the word itself suggests, in this we have a sudden release of energy along with sound, and a large amount of gases are also released. Such combustion cases are known as explosion, and the classic example for this is a cracker, a firecracker, which we have seen or used sometimes, that when we burn a cracker, then there is a sudden bursting of cracker where heat, light and sound energy is given, and also a large amount of gas is released. So moving to the next question, question number 13. Why some substances burn with a flame while some burn without a flame? We have to give the reason why. Not all the substances burn with a flame, some burn without a flame. Answer: the substances which vaporize during burning gives flame. That is, the substances which on heating forms vapor during the burning process, such substances burns with the flame. For example, kerosene oil, molten wax vaporizes during burning and form flames. That is, when we heat the kerosene oil or heat the molten wax, then they form vapors first during the burning, and due to this formation of vapors, we see a flame coming out of this molten wax or kerosene oil. On the other hand, charcoal, which is a kind of a wooden coal, does not vaporize, so it does not produce a flame. Substances like charcoal, when they are heated, they do not get vaporized. Hence, even though they burn, but they will not produce a flame. Next question, question number 14. Why is a person whose clothes have caught fire wrapped in a thick blanket? Now, again, you must have seen in movies or in some other videos where a person whose clothes have caught fire is quickly wrapped around by a thick blanket so that we can extinguish its fire. The reason being, when the clothes of a person catch fire, the person is covered with a blanket to extinguish fire, because covering the burning clothes of a person will cut off the supply of air, and hence the burning stops. We have already discussed the three factors for burning: fuel, supply of air or oxygen, and temperature. In this case, we are focusing on cutting off the supply of air to the burning clothes. When we wrap the person by a thick blanket, there is a cutoff of supply of air to the burning clothes and the fire stops. Question number 15. What is the reason for blackish ring formation on glass slide held over a candle flame? Again, it is activity, that is, if over a burner or a candle flame, if we held or hold a glass slide, then after some time on that glass slide we can see a blackish ring. What is the reason for it? Answer: a circular blackish ring is formed on the glass slide held over a candle flame because of the deposition of unburnt carbon particles present in the luminous zone of the flame. That is, the blackish ring that we see is because of the unburnt carbon particles, and that escapes out from the luminous zone of the flame. Even if we see any diesel vehicles, especially the heavy loaded trucks or the state transport buses, we sometimes see they are emitting a very large amount of black color smoke, and again the reason there is also similar. Black color in the smoke indicates that there is a incomplete combustion, and due to this there are unburnt carbon particles that are coming out along with the smoke, and hence we see a black color. Here, since the candle or a burner is a small thing, by naked eye it may not be possible to see this blackish color unburnt particles coming out, but we can check that if we hold a glass slide over a candle flame, then after some time we can see the blackish ring because of the unburnt carbon particles. Question number 16. What is a fuel? Again, we have seen in the first question, the substance which burns in the presence of oxygen and which on burning provide energy in the form of heat and light are called fuels. Examples of fuels are coal, petrol, LPG, kerosene, etc. The fuels are the main source of heat energy for domestic and industrial applications. Now, whenever for the domestic or the industrial purposes where there is a requirement of heat energy, then we use fuels. Question number 17. Mention the characteristics of good fuel. The answer: the characteristics of good fuel are: first, it is readily available. That is, the fuel should be easily available. Second point, it should be cheap, right? It should be cheap so that we can easily afford to buy it. Point number 3, it burns easily in air at a moderate rate. That is, a good fuel doesn't burn rapidly, but it burns steadily with a moderate rate, so that we can easily control the fire coming out of the fuel. Fourth point, it produces large amount of heat, that is, have high calorific value. Now, it is a very important point that a good fuel should have high calorific value, and we have seen the definition of calorific value during the exercise numerical which we have discussed in the last video. The calorific value is defined as the amount of heat energy released when we burn 1 kg of fuel. So when we burn 1 kg of fuel, the amount of energy that is being released or liberated is known as calorific value. So any fuel which gives large amount of heat for the same quantity is also always a better fuel. Point number 5, it does not leave behind any undesirable substances, residue. Now, again, an important point, we do not want a fuel which leaves behind a residue or undesirable substances. Usually, we see that the solid fuels have a tendency to give or to release the residue. If we burn the wood or the coal, then there is certain residue in the form of ash or some unburned particles is kept or it is left behind as a residue, whereas the liquid and the gaseous fuel, they burn completely and hence they do not leave behind any residue. Point number 6, it is easy to store and transport. Again, an important point, the good fuel should be easily to be stored and easy to transport. Last point, it is less polluting. Again, even though it is the last point, but it is also a very important factor that the fuel should be less polluting so that the harmful effects of pollution because of the fuel can be reduced. Now, here we have discussed the characteristics of good fuel, but if we compare this characteristics with any of the good fuel, you may not get all the characteristics in a single fuel. Any fuel which satisfies most of these characteristics, we usually say it to be a good fuel. Question number 18, give examples each of solid fuels, liquid fuels and gaseous fuels. In this question, we have to give examples of solid, liquid and gaseous fuels. Answer, solid fuels, wood, cow dung, coal, etc. Liquid fuels, kerosene, petrol, diesel, LPG. Gaseous fuel, CNG, hydrogen, methane, all are the examples of gaseous fuels. So, a straightforward question. Next, question number 19. Discuss the harmful effects of burning of fuels. Now, till now we have discussed the combustion, its type, and what are the types of fuels, what are its good characteristics. But now we will discuss the harmful effects of burning of fuels on the environment. The first thing is carbon fuels like wood, coal, petroleum, they release unburned carbon particles. We have already discussed these unburned carbon particles. These are released during incomplete combustion process. Now these particles are dangerous because they cause respiratory diseases such as asthma. Now these unburned carbon particles, they go into the respiratory system, that is in the nasal cavity or in the lungs, and then they block it, thereby causing asthma. Second point, incomplete combustion of these fuels gives carbon monoxide gas. It is a very poisonous gas. Again, not only unburned carbon particles, but due to the incomplete combustion of fuel, we get carbon monoxide. Now here, one important thing what you have to remember is that the complete combustion of fuels gives carbon dioxide gas, whereas incomplete combustion of fuel gives carbon monoxide gas. Now this carbon monoxide gas, which is formed due to the incomplete combustion, it is also a very poisonous gas. We can see the example. If we burn a coal in a closed room, the carbon monoxide gas can even kill a person sleeping in that room. So it is very poisonous gas. Third point, combustion of most fuels releases carbon dioxide gas in the environment. Now we have just discussed that when the combustion is complete, then carbon dioxide gas is released. Incomplete combustion causes carbon monoxide gas and unburned carbon particles. Even though the combustion is complete and carbon dioxide is released, still it is harmful phenomena because increased concentration of carbon dioxide gas causes global warming. What is global warming? It is the rise in the temperature of the earth. The detail we will discuss in the next question. Due to the increased concentration of carbon dioxide, there is a rise in the temperature of the earth, which we term it as the global warming. Next point, burning of coal and diesel releases sulfur dioxide gas, which is a very suffocating and corrosive gas. Also, petrol engines gives off oxides of nitrogen, which we call as the NOx emission, NOx emissions. Now these oxides of sulfur and nitrogen, when they react with the rainwater, they form acid. Such rainwater is known as acid rain. It is very harmful for crops and buildings and soil. Now, when the fuel burns, there is also a release of some low quantity or low amount of sulfur dioxide gas and oxides of nitrogen, which we name it as the NOx emissions. Now these oxides of sulfur and nitrogen, when they react with rainwater, they form acid, and since it is acid, it is very harmful for crops, buildings and soil because it corrodes the buildings, soil, and also destroys the vegetation. Hence it is very harmful. Next question, question number 20. What is global warming? What are its effects? Answer: global warming is the rise in temperature of the atmosphere of the earth. That is the rise that we have been seeing in the last few years. There is a rapid rise in the temperature of the earth and it is termed as global warming. The reason for it is due to the increased concentration of carbon dioxide gas in the air. Since the concentration or the quantity of carbon dioxide gas in the air is increasing because of the large amount of pollution that is being caused by the automobiles and industries, it has resulted in global warming. Now the reason for this is that this carbon dioxide gas, when it is present in the air in large quantities, they trap the rays of the sun that are coming to the earth. Now these sun rays which comes to the earth's surface and then they get reflected, this carbon dioxide gas trap the reflected rays of the sun, and due to this trapping of this reflected rays, the reflected rays are not able to escape out and they get concentrated on the surface of the earth, thereby increasing the heat energy and resulting in increase in temperature. Now what are its effects? Effects are the increasing the temperature of the earth has resulted in melting of polar glaciers. Now the glaciers are the mountains of ice that are present in the polar regions, the North Pole, the South Pole, Greenland. Now because of the increase in temperature of the earth, the melting of polar glaciers take place. Now this lead to the rise in the ocean and the sea level, causing floods in the coastal areas. Now due to the melting of this large quantity of ice, there is a rise in the level of the ocean and the seas, thereby causing floods in the coastal areas. Sometimes the low-lying coastal areas may even get permanently submerged under water. There are chances in the future that because of the melting of large quantity of these polar glaciers, the low-lying coastal areas and the cities on the coastal areas may get permanently submerged under water. So again, a global warming is also a very harmful phenomena for the environment. So with this, we have discussed the extra question and answers of this chapter 6. Hope you have understood the question answers. Thank you.